Hi, Seven White. I hope you had a nice Memorial Day weekend. Usually I go away and do something fun for Memorial Day weekend. This year I went to my yard, which wasn't very exciting, but at least I got outside, so that was nice. Memorial Day also kind of marks for me that we're getting towards the end of the school year. So I want to take a minute and talk about some things for the end of the year. Also, I'm recording this as an Edpuzzle video, so be on the lookout for there to be questions. Make sure you're paying attention because all this information is really important so we can have a nice end of the school year. So first of all, make sure you're finishing strong with all of your assignments. We only have a handful of things left that are due at the end of the year, but make sure that you're paying attention to those due dates and you're doing your best work. And this not only goes for my class, but your other classes as well. Also check PowerSchool. You should see a bunch of green check marks and P's. If you have any work that is missing or that you haven't turned in, you can still go back and redo it, but make sure you send me a message about the work that you're missing, and then we can come up with a plan together for how you're going to make that up before the end of the year. Okay? Also, another thing that I would be doing at this time is starting to say goodbye to you guys. So either by writing you a message in your yearbook or saying a verbal goodbye to you. But we're not going to be able to do that this year because we're not together, unfortunately. So if you would like, I can write you a personalized goodbye message. So if you want that message from me, send me an email and I will write that out to you. You can print it out and paste it in your yearbook if you want. You can put it somewhere else, or you can read it and say, that's nice, and delete it. It's up to you. So if you would like that, let me know before the end of the year. Our last big assignment for my class that you need to do in order to get a trimester 3 grade from me has to do with argumentative writing and making a good argument. So don't forget that these are the terms. The first one is claim. Being able to clearly state what side you're on and choose a side. Having reasons to back up that claim. What are 2 to 4 reasons why you believe that you're correct? Evidence. Coming up with things like specific examples, quotes, facts, statistics, and numbers to support your reasons. Remember, we want to move someone to action. We want to convince them that you're right. They're not going to be convinced if you don't have very specific reasons and evidence. And then now that we're in 7th grade, we not only have to be able to argue what our side is, make a claim for our side, but we have to acknowledge the other side in a counterclaim or counterargument and show that we've thought about what the other side has to say. However, you don't want to accidentally convince your reader or the person listening to your argument that the other side's correct. So that's why you want to have a rebuttal. You want to point out all the reasons why they're wrong. And you can do that by listing pros, good things about your side, cons, what the negative things are about their side. Okay? So what you're going to have to do for the last assignment is come up with all of these things for an argument. Okay? So last week, you took a look at some topics that I've already found resources for. And you wrote in a discussion post which one interests you, which one you're going to have the easiest time coming up with evidence for. I hope that everybody picked a topic that makes sense to them. If there's one of these topics that you're like, that's confusing and boring, I hope you wouldn't pick that to do that last assignment on, because I don't want people to struggle. I want you to have an easy time with this and be successful. So if you go to this page on my Canvas page, and there's information about all this under Wednesday where you found this video, you're going to click on the topic of your choice. So step 2, once you've clicked on it, is looking at all the information that I've listed there. Some information is in websites that I found. Some information comes in like PDFs or documents that I've saved over the years. There's some stuff on the library page. There's dozens and dozens of things for you to choose from. This isn't a very extensive assignment though. You're not going to have to look at dozens of websites. You're going to have to come up with at least 3 here that you can use to come up with your reasons and your evidence. So there's a lot here to choose from. You really only are looking at a few websites though. You could go out and do your own internet searches, but this assignment's going to be due June 2nd. So really watch your time. Don't spend tons of time looking for stuff when I've already done the work for you. Okay? Step 3. You want to pick a side to the argument and make a claim about it. So I'm going to use this as my example. And this isn't one of the topic choices. This is one that I've picked to show you as an example. Claim, keeping tigers as pets is wrong. I have to admit, I did watch the Tiger King documentary on Netflix, and it made me think a lot about, whether people should be keeping tigers in their homes as pets. And I think it's wrong to do that. So I'm only going to take one side and I'm going to write it out in one clear sentence. Done. Step 4. I've got to start to use the resources to find 3 strong reasons to support this claim. Now, in the documentary, there's some activists that are going out and trying to pass more laws in the United States so that people can be fined or jailed for keeping animals like this as pets. And they've been going to Washington, D.C. and trying to convince some of our leaders to pass these laws. However, if they go there with some bad reasons, without a lot of evidence, like if they just say tigers are cute, well, no senator, no congressperson is going to believe them. You've got to be able to come up with some good reasons that are really going to convince people and move them to action. So if you go in there and say keeping a tiger as a domesticated pet is dangerous, you're going to sound a lot more like you know what you're talking about. But you can't just stop there. Next step is you've got to find some evidence to support this. So I went to an article online and I found a lot of information about why keeping these tigers as pets is too dangerous. Now, if I didn't go to an article, I could have just said off the top of my head, tigers have teeth and claws. But like everybody knows that. That's not very convincing. I didn't do any research to figure that out. So instead, I pulled this quote from the article. According to the Humane Society of the United States, 4 children and 16 adults had lost their lives to incidents involving cats since 1990, and countless others have been paralyzed, mauled, lost limbs, or been seriously injured. This is a much better piece of evidence. It's talking about an organization called the Humane Society of the United States. It's listing, how many people have been injured or killed by tigers. And I didn't come up with this in my own words, which is fine. I just put quotation marks around it, and I'm going to make sure that I put the website that I used in the resources section. So remember, good evidence has to be facts, statistics, quotes, or examples. Try to be specific. Let's look at these pieces of evidence, and this is going to be an Edpuzzle question. So which one of these did you think was the strongest? Well, when I look at number 1, it's kind of true. It's kind of detailed, but I'm not sure. Let's look at number 2. Well, number 2 is giving a specific example about someone's experience who played sports. So I can kind of get an idea of how their brother felt. Evidence 3. This looks pretty good. It's got some statistics there, some numbers. But when I look very closely, this statistic, this data is from 1997 to 1999. That was when I was in elementary school. So that was a pretty long time ago. I don't know if this old statistic is the very best one. So if I had to pick one example of evidence that really supports this claim that sports put too much pressure on kids who play them, I'd probably have to go with this very specific example and evidence 2 as the best one. So how are you going to show me that you've started to formulate your argument? So step 6, make sure as you're going along that you're adding stuff to this graphic organizer. This is going to be that final thing that I grade, okay? So number 1, you've got to state your claim clearly in one sentence, and this is going to be due on Friday. Step 2, put in your reasons. So come up with at least one reason by Friday, and then pull some evidence to support that reason. And this is also going to be due on Friday. Reason 2 is going to be due on Friday, and you're doing the same thing with the evidence to back up for reason 2. Reason 3, I'm going to give you a little bit more time to work on this. This is going to be due on Tuesday, June 2nd. So if you're on a roll and you want to do more of the graphic organizer before the due date, that's totally fine, but it needs to be wrapped up by June 2nd. Then finally, you've got to add in the counter argument and the rebuttal, pointing out why that side's wrong. In order to do this with enough details, it's got to be at least 3 sentences. If you have less than that, you really haven't written enough to have enough of a counter argument to show me you understand what that means. And that's going to be due by June 2nd. Then I really need to see that you've come up with a claim, reasons, evidence, and a counter argument that are supported by sources. So here I need to see either the name of the website, or if it's a document that I put on the Canvas page, the title of the document, something to show me where you got it from. And I need to see at least 2 sources by Friday, all the sources by June 2nd. So what's due on what day? Just to recap, by Friday, you've got to add your claim, add at least 2 sources to the sources section, add at least 2 reasons, and then add some detailed evidence to support those 2 reasons. The entire thing is due on June 2nd. But let me warn you, be very careful that you're not putting this off until the last minute. So that's why I've kind of chunked it out for you and kind of given you some due dates for this. Because eventually teachers have to start wrapping up their grades, and we have to make sure that everybody's turned in their final work. If you put this off until the last minute and you're not meeting the due dates, and I have to try to follow up with you by sending you some emails or Canvas messages or contact your parents, we're going to be having less and less time to get this done before the end of the school year. So what do you think that you should do if you're trying to do this assignment, but you're confused or you're falling behind? So here's my suggestion. I would watch this video again where I explain things, and then I would send you a message or an email right away. So as soon as you're feeling confused, do something to help yourself out. If you just say, I'm overwhelmed, I'm going to do this tomorrow, or I'm going to do this next week, there's not going to be a next week. We can't put this off too long because we're going to run out of time with the end of the school year. So send me a message or email right away. Get some help from me now so that we can wrap it up and we don't have to be stressed out and worrying about this at the very end of the year. Okay? So good luck. Reach out to me if you have questions. I know that you can do it. Have a great day.